Hey guys, what is up? Welcome back to my channel. And for those of you who are new, welcome to my channel. My name is Rebecca Gardner, and I'm gonna be talking low the whole time, and that's because my dad is in a call meeting right now. Out in a call meeting right now, so I'm just not gonna be crazy. Today I'm gonna be doing a book review for the 10 books that I've been reading this year, and this would also be a book recommendation video. And also I want to warn you. Well, I don't think it's a warning, but I just want to clarify, I am not a full-time booktuber. Not all of my channel is all about books. I've done a book series for one of my favorite books, but yeah, the rest of my channel is just music and lifestyle and all that lifestyle stuff. But but I'm not like a full, so yeah, this channel may not be filled with like book reviews and a lot of readathons and stuff, but I am doing this because I've been doing this because I love to incorporate reading into my life, and I love to incorporate reading into my channel. And so, yes. And I've done a lot of reading this week, and I just thought that I would show you guys some books that I read in 2020, and and give you guys recommendations for these books. And half of these books I've read before, and half of these books I've never read before. So yeah, basically this is gonna be pretty interesting. So without further ado, let's get into it. So the first book that I'm gonna show you guys is pretty obvious because I told you guys of how I love this book and I've done a series on this before. So it's pretty obvious that you would think that I would put this in this video. So this is called Speak by Laurie, Halse. If you guys don't have this book, seriously, what are you doing with your life? Go and get this book, because seriously, this book is really, really good. It's about this girl named Melinda who went to this party, and basically during the party, she called the cops because something terrible has happened to her. I'm not going to tell you what because I don't want to spoil it. I mean, unless you watch my series, my Read Along With Me series, which I did a couple months ago. This book is just really, really good. So anyways, something terrible happens to her, and she called the cops, and all of her friends turn on her, and everybody just don't want to talk to her, and all of her friends stop talking to her, and ever since then she stops talking. And so she starts her high school, her freshman year of high school, pretty rocky. And she takes this art class, which basically helps her to escape the reality of what happened. So, this is a really good book. Seriously, go get this right now. It's a really good book. Well, after you watch this video, I mean, but seriously, you guys, this book is amazing. Everybody needs to have this. Like, seriously. I love this book, so yeah. So the next book that I'm gonna bring up is it's a really inspiring book, and it's called Tuesdays with Morrie by Mitch Albom. Basically this is just about this is just full of life lessons that from life lessons from this old man who is dying of AIDS. Well, no, he's not dying of AIDS. He's dying from ALS. So he's dying from ALS, and it talks a lot about life, death, love, family, forgiveness, family. I don't think I've mentioned that. It has a lot in this book, and it's really, really good. So if you're looking for a new perspective on life or anything like that, go read this. And Mitch has a chance to visit his old professor, which is Morrie, and they had a lot of great discussions on things like that. So go read this. It's an amazing book. So yeah, moving on. So the next 4 books that I'm gonna bring up is a little bit of fantasy, and I really love this author, and I really love these books. So this is the whole set of the Lord of the Rings series. So when I first read this in high school, my freshman year in high school, I do not understand the text of these books, and I read them all again when I got it for Christmas, but I was like, yeah, I still don't understand. And I love Tolkien, but I was like, I love Tolkien, like I love his writing style, but I still don't understand him. But this last semester I took this Tolkien class. I took this class in my university, and I cannot speak. And it is called The City of Tolkien. And we read all of these books, and I've been listening I've actually been listening to the audiobooks while during that semester, and it really expands my understanding of Tolkien, and it really expands my understanding of The Lord of the Rings. And after reading all of these, I was like, oh my gosh, I really love J.R.R. Tolkien, and I really love his style. and I totally understand his writing. And I've actually written a really good paper on Samwise Gamgee, and I've actually impressed my professor with it. And I've talked a lot about how uh, protective and how brave he is. I'm not gonna explain what the plot is about because I don't know how to explain it, but these books are really good. So if you guys really love J.R.R. Tolkien, and if you guys love The Lord of the Rings, and you've seen all the movies, go and read these books, and maybe you'll understand the context of the whole series. So, yeah. So this next book that I'm gonna be bringing up is another one from my favorite, from one of my favorite authors, Laurie Halse Anderson, and it's called Fever 1793. So I've actually seen, so I was actually subscribed to her YouTube channel, and when she posted a video of her reading this and her talking about this, I was really interested in reading it, and I read it, and it was so good, and I really loved it. It's basically about this girl who lives in Philadelphia, and so basically she wants to go out and help everyone in Philadelphia the best that she can, but she has to realize, but her mother doesn't, but her mother and her maid Eliza, named Eliza, would not recommend her going out because of how crazy the fever is. So there's this epidemic in this book, and it's called the yellow fever, and that explains why her eye is yellow. But basically she gets separated from her mother, and she departs with her grandfather, and she has to learn quickly how to survive this fever. And her mother actually comes down with the fever, and now it's up to her and her grandfather to try and survive it. But it's a really good book. So if you guys want a book to get through this pandemic, I would recommend reading this book because it's pretty amazing. So this is a historical fiction. But it's really, really good. So, yes. Okay, so the last 3 books that I'm gonna bring up here is this series that I really, really loved, and I also have read these, and I read the other 2. So I've been reading the A Child Called It series. So I'm gonna start with the first book here, which is A Child Called It by Dave Pelzer. So basically it's based on a true story of this little boy who's really abused by his mother, and he was not considered as a son but a slave, and he was not considered as a boy and a child but in it. And basically she beats him up days at a time and she starves him, but he somehow manages to survive this terrible abuse. So if you want to read this, you can, but I have to warn you, it's gonna make you cry. Actually, when I read this, I read this twice, and when I read this book for my second time, I get so down on myself because I feel so heartless because I didn't cry. But anyways, it's gonna make you cry, so have some tissues. And also, another warning, it has a lot of this book can get really, really graphic because a lot of the stuff that his mom does is really, really graphic. So, yeah. So be looking out for that. And for those of you who have triggers of child abuse, it has a lot of triggers in this book. So if you get really triggered about child abuse because you've experienced it or whatever it is, I would not recommend this book. But if you're like me who really loves to read sad, morbid stuff, go read this. But it's gonna make you cry, and it has it's a bit graphic, so yeah. So this next book that I'm going to recommend to you after reading A Child Called It is The Lost Boy. So basically this is what happens. So what happens after when he was taken by the police. So in A Child Called It, it shows his story from when he was 4 to all the way to when he was 12. So this is when he was 12 all the way up to 18 years old. And basically he was put into this foster care system, and so he went to this court, and the judge agrees that he stays in foster care until he's 18 because that's when he kind of has to move out and take care of himself. But basically he has moved into 5 to 6 different families. And yeah, I'm just not gonna get into it, but it's a really good book. He searches for love in a family, and yeah, it's a really good book. So I would recommend reading this, but I would recommend reading A Child Called It first before you start reading this book, so that you would understand the book. So, yeah. Now, this last book that I'm going to recommend to you guys, so it's called A Man Named Dave by Dave Pelzer as well, in the same series. So basically this is his story from when he was 18 all the way up to his adulthood. Basically he joins this Air Force. He tries to join this Air Force. And he didn't quite make it, but he was a member of a flyer, I guess. But basically this is it's a declaration of independence to his mom, and it talks a lot about him trying to how should I put this into words? This is about how he goes through his adversity, and it talks a lot about how he forgives his mother, but he doesn't forgive himself because he carries that burden from he was a child. Even if he was saved and put into foster care, he kind of still has to carry that burden, thinking oh, it's all my fault. There's some things that I should have stopped my mom from doing. And it talks a lot about, and it touches on how his first marriage didn't turn out very good, and it touches on his writing process for A Child Called It and The Lost Boy. It touches a lot in this book, so I would definitely recommend it. So yes, so yeah, read, and once again, read these two books before you read this, so that way you'll get a better understanding of his story. But yeah, that's my book recommendation for you guys, and books that I've enjoyed reading, and I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you do, give it a thumbs up and leave your request in the comments below, and yes, and subscribe and click on the bell so that you guys don't miss any of my videos, and I will see you guys next week. Remember to stay happy, stay safe, and stay cool. And I am off to the moon, and I will be back soon.